and he's going to start us off with a quiz, I think. Is that right, Russell?
Yeah. And what I would like everybody to do is to find their chat function on Zoom. So if that has disappeared for you, there should be a bar up at the top or bottom of your screen where you can click and activate the chat. And I'm going to be that aggressive person who tries to get you to interact with me and tries to get you to do that early. So how is everybody today? You can type, you can let me know how you are. I want to make sure you found that box where you can express yourself. Good, everybody's brilliant. That's nice. Tired and excited, yeah, I get that one. I'm doing okay. I've had a busy week. I've got 2 final years with me in my practice, who I was a bit, before they came, I was a bit like, another thing to worry about. And actually they've been outstanding, doing some amazing things for patients. We had a diagnosis of pseudo hyperparathyroidism yesterday, which they're all very excited about. And they made the diagnosis and helped me understand what I was meant to remember about phosphate. And I think that's one of the joys of teaching. And they would do it in a very different way than I suspect many of us would. So, you know, gone are the days of textbooks. Everything is in Google, and that's how we find the information. And that's, you know, am I really relevant anymore? Is any of the stuff I learned at med school relevant? And we talked a little bit about generational theory, and did a quiz at an away day a few years ago, or a year ago. It feels like years ago now. And we thought this might be some interesting things for our GP tutors to think about. In the chat, if I ask you to name somebody related to the generation game, my slides are just doing something by themselves. Who would you name? What person is connected with the phrase the generation game? Yeah, Bruce. Now, we all remember the generation game, but you know, many of our students won't have a clue what the generation game was. And some people are going back to Larry Grayson as well. So we're all informed by different things and learn from different things. If I was to ask you to name a war or conflict that has been formative in your view of the world, which one would you name? Yeah, so we've got everything ranging from World War II. You know, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we would have had people talking about the Great War and World War I. World War II, for our students, for a lot of us, 9/11, the war on terror, terrorism. For the students, the students that will be coming into med school in 10 to 15 years, it'll be the war on COVID. So there are things that form your life experiences and perceptions of the world, often through the frame of reference of your parents. So if your parents were worried about the AIDS crisis as you were growing up, that would be the nebulous beast you'd be scared about, or the Cold War. So there's lots of things that kind of shift our perspective and define who we are. I would like you to tell me, what is your horoscope sign? So lots of different people. What is there, 12 or 13 horoscopes? And I want to start off with a bit of a sort of disclaimer on the quiz and what the concept of a generation is, because it's not really going to completely describe who you are. And a lot of people get locked into date ranges and they say, well, I was born in 1947, that makes me X. And that is not how it works. So you can have somebody who is 70, but attitudinally is a generation alpha, or you could have somebody who was born, you know, a few weeks ago who is a boomer. And we'll talk about a few of these concepts and the different names. But what I wanted us to do was to do a quiz, which you should be able to get to by using one of these links. And I'm going to put that link in the chat as well. Now, for those of you who are very tech savvy, the Generation Alphas in the room, if you pick up your phone, open the photo taking app, whether it's an Android or iPhone, and point it at the screen, you should be able to scan that picture, and it will open the link for you. But for the sake of people who can't, I'm also going to just copy that link and put it in the chat for you. So about 3 or 4 minutes, that's all it should take. Don't overanalyze your answers to the questions, just have a go. And when you've done it, turn your video on. So if you've managed to get your answer, do come back and join us and turn on your video so we can see that people are back. Did you manage to get through it, Ros?
I did. I'm getting younger in this quiz. I like it.
Good. Looks like most people have managed to get through it. So if you've got a result, type in the chat box, and we won't look at what generation people are by name, but give us the answer. What generation did you get? So we're all getting quite a lot of millennials, a few boomers, Y, alpha. And this is a pop quiz that takes 2 minutes, produced by the very scientific organization of BuzzFeed. But some of it's based on science and background and sort of the formative experiences of generations and the social and attitudinal caricatures of each of those generations. And again, strongly pushing the limitations. I'm a Virgo. I tend to be a driven perfectionist about things, but there's also plenty of things from other star signs that resonate with me. And the purpose is not necessarily to put you in a box, but to get you to think about why you might align with that particular generation and how that impacts you as a person, but also how that impacts your ability to connect and teach students. And if we look at some of the characteristics of the generations we're currently teaching at med school, working backwards with, Generation Alpha, they've grown up with the internet constantly. They don't understand going to a library and getting out books in the same way that most of us would. They're digital natives. The things that have informed their life view are current recessions and perceptions of the millennials. The millennials are ruining the world by eating all the avocados, and that's why they can't afford to buy houses. And there's stereotypes about each group. So I've also, I don't want to take too long. Anybody got something that they were surprised by?
A man says he was surprised by his. He says he got the greatest generation, but knows he's a.
Or exennial.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get these compound verbs, words as well, where you're kind of in between things. And there are longer things. What I would also suggest is there is a really useful BuzzFeed article about millennial burnout. And actually you read it, and some of my things are hard work, stable jobs, responsibility, which are more, boomer, sort of silent generation aspects of my personality. And I see people not wanting to work and not being able to get jobs and spending all their money on avocados. And I kind of don't resonate with that. But a lot of times people are on different things in different domains. And that's, the diversity is really useful. Marion is commenting, because we did this as a QMEC team back in March, and some of us have changed, and I think it changes on a different day. I did it again this morning when I woke up after I'd read news about the US election. And I think that has polarized the answers I give. And much like if you do a Myers-Briggs or other personality typing test, it will depend on the day of the week and the mood that you're in as to how you come out. So what I'm going to end shortly, but I'm going to put up a link to another video, which I would strongly recommend that you have a look at in one of the breaks. And we'll put the link to that in chat as well. It is 9 minutes and 59 seconds long. It's produced by, again, BuzzFeed, and it goes through each of the generations, the years that they are born in, what their formative experiences were, their motivators, their sense of social justice or change, or the fights of their generation. So whether that goes from sexual equality and gender equality, whether that is the fight for same-sex marriage, currently Black Lives Matter, freedom and COVID, and looking at what people were interested in as the issues of the generation. So that's all I was going to say. Happy to take a question or two if anybody's got anything that they want to say. If you think the quiz is rubbish, write that in the comments. If you found it insightful or reflected usefully on it, let us know about that as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Russell. I think we're going to do questions at the end, actually, for you, Dominique and James.